And we're live.
Episode 5?
Episode 5.
5.
Yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to This Life in Tech.
Yeah, This Life in Tech.
This Life in Tech, episode 5. If I keep looking this way, it's because Dan's in the office with me.
Actually, you're in the office with me. This is my office.
And I gotta manually switch this fucking camera again because I don't know how to use Google Hangouts on air.
It is, again, as usual, it's such a great thing that we do not actually work in technology.
Yeah.
Because it could be really bad that we can't seem to use the technology to get every
I don't know.
5 weeks in a row, we've had something not work right when we're trying to get this thing set up. There's been something.
Maybe because only one of us actually does the work.
Well, that could be. And that one person that's doing the work is not able to do it right. We don't know which one that is.
Maybe that one person doesn't want to put in much effort since the other one doesn't do anything.
Well, one of these people is the brains. The other one is supposed to work the technology.
Well, I don't know, man. At least one of us is a dick.
Yeah, well, that one case, at least one. At least one.
Oh, shit.
Most times it's 2. Yeah.
You know, on this podcast, you get double dicked. Well,
I think we got him on camera. He left, though.
Speaking of dicks, there was supposed to be 3 of us this week. If you listened in last week, we were going to have our good friend, let's call him Mr. Schnozzle, because he didn't want to use his real name. Even if you watched the last episode, we fucking said it.
Did we? I thought we just said Michelle.
No, I'm pretty sure we said his name.
It definitely wasn't the full name.
Not the full name, but anyway, this guy's freaking out. He just split. He doesn't want to be on this thing. Fuck him. So, Mr. Schnozzle, I was going to use a sock puppet. I don't even think he's worth that.
Well, not only that, we also found out last night that he's, scared of open water.
I don't remember that part of the conversation.
Yeah. He doesn't like being in open water.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Now it's coming back. I was having a side conversation during dinner, and now I remember coming back to, I'm scared to death of sharks, personally, so I don't like being in open water either. But
well, because you look like prey. You look like the food that a shark would eat without the surfboard.
A seal? Don't let the schmog fool you, man. Oh my god.
All right, so here we are, episode 5.
Yeah.
We were going to talk about nootropics and other ways in which organizations and people stimulate the mind in order to learn or to have alternative experiences.
Yeah, we were going to talk about biohacking, bioengineering, how you can enhance.
Of which Mr. Schnozzle is quite much into biohacking and stuff like that.
Yeah, I did. Whatever, man. So this week, why don't we talk about privacy some more? And in particular, I thought it'd be fun to talk about how maybe, one of our colleagues and friends had an interview and talked about state entities not being the largest threat necessarily to individual privacy, and presented a new argument. I think it was new, at least to me. I mean, I think we all kind of thought about it. I don't think it's necessarily a new thought to make claims that social media platforms, being free, of course, are generating massive amounts of revenue. And they do that by selling data. Well, I mean, we've done that. But really putting the dots together and saying that as a platform, marketing or ads might, in fact, be the largest affront to individual human privacy. That's kind of a big statement. What do you think, Dan?
Well, absolutely it is. I mean, I think in part of the article, which we should probably put the link to the article in the notes.
Yeah, when I update the description after this uploads to the YouTube channel, I'll add the link to the article. So that way we attribute to John, and I don't remember the reporter's name. Do you remember the reporter?
I don't.
While Dan's talking, I'll fucking look it up.
I sent you the link.
Yeah, I have it open in a window.
So the interesting part in this is that in our first episode 1 of our podcast, you were very much against the idea of privacy altogether. Well, did you believe that we should ascend to a state where privacy was no longer an issue? But no matter which episode we've come back to, in some way, shape, or form, privacy always seems to rear its ugly head in a way. And in this case, and especially with the article John's talking about in there, it's about ad blockers as well. That these social media sites are going to have to start changing their business model, because we were the product if you were on social media. And as such, our information was being sold. But for those that were privacy focused, or even if they just didn't want to see ads for whatever reason, not saying privacy focused, just that it slowed shit down, so they didn't want to see it, they would go out and get ad blockers. Well, I think in the article, it said something like they were losing, millions and millions of dollars a year. I think the number they said was like 30 million a year was the lost revenue. So if that's the case, these ad companies are losing that amount of money, then how is Facebook, Google, Twitter, LinkedIn, how are they going to continue to generate revenue if they're selling that data, if people are using ad blockers?
It's an interesting thing with ad blocking. This reminds me a little bit about. It's not. I don't think it's a direct analogy, but it's similar to the arguments that were DVRs, right? Mm-hmm. And in the beginning, that technology was great because you could fast forward through commercials, and still on a lot of channels you can. But there's some channels that don't allow fast forwarding. You can't fast forward through a show to bypass the commercials. And I don't know about you, I don't watch a lot of TV, but when I do and I have to watch like TV, it's fucking painful, man. Well, those commercials just suck it out of you. And what's interesting is, just to finish that thought, and this kind of updates to where we're at. Some, not all, marketing firms, ad agencies, the other vertical markets within that figured out how to do product placement, either to supplement or replace the revenue that was lost through, like, for instance, DVR. So I think that's a fair question to start asking then is, with this ongoing war now between, let's say, marketing is a general term, right? I'm not talking about the people or the specific departments, but just as a technology, right? As a technological platform, marketing versus ad blockers or marketing blockers. Is it really about who's going to win? Or is it about how's that market going to evolve so that the marketing force is able to still have revenue? What do you think?
Well, what's interesting, you brought up the television part. We know that there is a market for paid television services.
Yeah.
Because people don't want commercials. Right. I mean, started off with like HBO, but even more so now, Netflix. Just look at Netflix. Netflix, I think, is doing pretty well. I think there's a lot of companies wish they had the kind of revenue stream that Netflix had.
Yeah.
Or has.
Well, I think now, because I use Prime and Netflix. I don't use Hulu, but I'm fairly certain they have their own Hulu-driven content now as far as TV shows and movies. Mm-hmm. Everybody has that.
Yeah.
Because they had to, because giants like HBO and Netflix took it on.
Right. I mean, think about if HBO decided that they were going to, not renew their contracts with the cable providers.
Right.
Could they make more money? I mean, HBO owns a lot, and they do their own content. And I mean, I would probably buy it.
Well,
because I don't want the commercials.
Right. So if we look at, I can't think of any HBO shows off the top of my
Sopranos.
head.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Actually, that's perfect. What product placement is in Game of Thrones? I mean, it's not set in like modern times, so you can't have like a can of Coke sitting there like you can in like
Sopranos.
Like Sopranos, right? Or more modern settings.
Yeah.
Or do you just say, hey, fuck it. We'll make it up some other way? I don't know how they do it. I don't know. I mean,
because again, this is the part where, like, again, we pay, I don't know, what is it? I pay like $10 a month for Netflix.
Something like that.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting original content.
Uh-huh.
Amazon Prime. People are paying for that. I mean,
right.
So if I were, I mean, outside of Twitter and LinkedIn, I don't know how much I'd be willing to pay for Twitter. LinkedIn has a business purpose, so I might be. Actually, I take that back. I do pay for LinkedIn, so this way I can get access to other people if I so choose to.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily suppress ads, does it?
No, I don't think it does.
And that doesn't guarantee. That doesn't provide any technical guarantee that they're not using your data to generate.
No, they probably still are. But I think I would go so far as to say that I might be willing, if I was a Facebook person, user, I would probably pay for that instead of them taking my data and selling it. But here's the thing. I think no matter what the price is, a company's only loyal to their stockholders. And so even if I paid for it, they might eventually come back right back around, and not only am I paying for it, but then they're going to use my data on top of that so they could double dip.
Well, right, because as a business, why wouldn't you? If I can get money out of you, either through a subscription or some upfront fee for access, right, some membership, whatever, right, and then I can sell your data behind the scenes and make even more money, and potentially repeatedly. I mean, I don't know how those models necessarily work, but.
Well, Microsoft's doing it now, right? So Microsoft's primary business model was not off of ads, but now they're in the search engine market with Bing.
Right.
And so now they are. So what happens if Apple gets into that business? I mean, think about the amount of data that Apple probably already has on many of us because of iPhone use, or Mac use, the app stores that are there. And then if they decide they want to be in the search engine business. Apple customers are some of the most loyal. They use Safari. They use everything that Apple puts out there. They would use the Apple search engine.
Well, that brings up an interesting point. I was thinking about, Dan, after I read John's interview. And again, we'll put that link in after we're done here. I don't want to dig it up in the middle of the show because I closed that tab in my browser. But I started thinking to myself, well, all right, let's assume that marketing loses, kind of like with the DVRs, right? And they had to start shifting to product placement in the shows themselves, so you couldn't avoid it. What would be next for online advertising? Let's forget about the part about selling people's data from it. Let's just talk about the ads. And so let's say ad blocking somehow becomes universal, or somehow there's some universal law that gets put into place that removes ads from the internet in totality in general. So if you're a marketing firm, what's your next step? Well, holy shit, you said this, you alluded to it. We all have mobile, whether it's just a mobile phone, whether it's a mobile phone plus a wearable. So how hard would it be for me? Because those companies, for instance, Apple, know everything about you at that point. They know where you're at, how you're moving, how fast you're moving. So they know what stores you're in or near. So how hard is it to direct deliver ads not only to those devices, but in the reality space you're currently walking around in, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about augmented reality yet, but that's certainly a concern of mine.
There's a lot of things basically they could triangulate still about you if they've switched over to mobile.
Right, so do they need product placement? Or do they just need you, which they already have because you're fucking using their devices? They know where you're at. What do you think?
No, I think you're spot on. We wind up, even for data that we think that we've kept private, any app on the phone basically has access to see not the app content, but that you have other apps on there basically. And even that, they what if you happen to leave like your photos on there, and the app has access to your photos because you granted it. Didn't say that they should be able to take a look at all the geolocation off the photos. Didn't say that they, I may have granted access to the photos, but if I took a picture and you're in that, did you give that company the permission to use your photo? No. You're in that photo. They're still using unintentional data leakage.
And let's say you don't have a casual services turn off, so you're not getting precise resolution. Yes, But you do upload up and say to Instagram or Dropbox or some shit. Well, now you just essentially fire, right? It's like
Yeah.
So if I'm a marketing firm and I have a tab where I can watch traffic running.
I know it came from DC.
Yes, exactly. Right? Because geolocation, you don't need the GPS. That makes your decisions. But all I need to know is you're in a city, right? Maybe I can narrow it down, somewhat. And based on previous things, and you can do, if you have access to the photo, you can do image recognition and see what store you're in or what mall. And again, I
start sending you a text message of an advertisement because it's I'm not sure of this, but I could send you a text. Didn't matter if you signed up for premium messaging or not, but if I sent it to you, even if it wasn't a premium in that case, I could just send you the unsolicited text message.
Well,
because the apps get your phone number.
You could send an unsolicited text message, which happens already. Or what if you're in a mall and you're in a group of people? I don't think it's a big stretch to think that you could put an ad up on one of the electronic poster boards, right? I mean, if there's a group of tweens that are at the mall shopping for Uggs, because
and you.
Well, yeah, I mean, somebody has to escort them.
Right. Well, no, because you like the Uggs also.
No. I got Converse on that
today. But we were in California on on campus. You were wearing Uggs. Man, the lights just went out.
Yeah, what's up?
Timer. I guess it's on the timer.
Well,
we're trying to save money.
Look at this weather outside too, man. It's fucking cold.
Isn't the view out of my office great?
It's 48 degrees. It's frost giant weather. Anyway, so I mean, there's any number of ways that I could foresee these marketing technologies transitioning into a more direct ad generation platform.
Well, sure. I mean, they do it in stadiums now.
Right.
So they know everyone in that stadium, and they send mass text messages to everyone in that stadium.
Yeah.
So I think look, as we know, no matter what rules we put in place, no matter how things happen, the method of delivery will evolve because companies need to make money and they need to get their message out. So they'll just change a different way because, again, Apple, Microsoft, Google will figure out an alternative way in order to get money. We could ad block, but then what's next? And everything, it's a cat and mouse game. Everything. Yeah, exactly. Security, technology, life. I did this. Someone wants to prevent it, and they find a way around it.
Well, and like we were talking about the other night at dinner when we were talking about credit card security, and we were talking about how in the beginning, criminals would attack an individual store, and depending on your volume, you're getting hundreds of transactions. Not a lot compared to the total percentage of transactions per day. Like let's just say on a Visa. And then as security rolled out and made that take longer and be riskier for a criminal, right? If you're just looking at like a business calculation, no shit, guess what happened? The criminals started attacking the processors, where there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of transactions sitting. Okay, well, if we have this universal ad block and that shuts down all this revenue, and ad companies, marketing platforms are still going to persist. So if you were a state actor and you're interested in tracking people, why would you want to go to the trouble of, let's say, rooting their devices? I mean that in a general way. When you can just go to one of these marketing platforms and maybe subscribe to it too, like any other company, right? And you can just slurp up all that data from there. And it's already parsed for you. It's right.
It's all ready to go.
At that point, you wouldn't need to attack individual people.
No, you wouldn't need to at all. It just comes down that we've already given up enough, unfortunately, of our freedom to try to take it back. It's extremely difficult. Ad blocker, I think, is a Band-Aid overall because the companies that have the most of our data, it's Google, Facebook, Apple, Twitter, LinkedIn. They're the ones that have all of our data. We think, as the article alludes, that it's really the intelligence community. But if it was the truth, why does the intelligence community keep subpoenaing data from Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Apple.
Yeah, it's one of those curious things where, like, we've talked about Edward Snowden before, and in hindsight, in the one documentary, they pointed out that it was a flag when that really high bit strength key showed up, and it was found out to be attached to an identity of Edward Snowden. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's kind of like what I've said before, like with North Korea. I mean, you can't have it both ways. Either they're backwoods savages that barely have wheel technology, or they're technologically advanced enough to commit cybercrime. It's not both. And the media tends to flip-flop on which narrative they present based on what story they're trying to sell. And with this shit, I kind of see it the same way. I mean, yeah.
I think they're going to evolve. While the online, well, I mean, I take that back. I don't necessarily know that it is going to evolve as much as what we would like it to, because, how long has people been doing social engineering through email and spam, and they're still making millions and millions of money illegally of gaining this stuff?
Well, they're making enough money to continue to send it.
Right? So if they're only losing 20 to 30 million, okay, so I guess maybe their profits aren't going to be up by 500%. But if they're still making, $500 million a year or whatever that number is, I don't know what the number is, and now they're just making 400, I think they're probably still going to stay in business.
Yeah, I don't think they're going out of business. I mean, the Super Bowl's coming up, right? I don't watch football.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Yeah, okay. I mean, obviously there's enough potential in revenue from having a commercial during the Super Bowl that people still produce these outlandish, ridiculous.
Well, as a matter of fact, the Super Bowl some people only watch the Super Bowl for the ads, because they're like, what are they going to say next? Kind of like Howard Stern in the 80s. What's he going to say next? I don't think. Well, I mean, I use ad blockers. I use no script with Mozilla because I don't want to see it. If I'm looking for something specifically that's different, I'm looking for, this is where the search engines I'm looking for a lawnmower. Okay, show me things for a lawnmower because I'm looking for one. But it's that unsolicited aspect that is in my feeds that I get irritated with. I know when Twitter started doing these paid for ads in people's feeds, people got salty. They got really salty. That's not what they were looking for.
Right.
In the middle of their feed, so.
Well, in particular, man, those are deliberately crafted to mirror Twitter messages to get you to click on those sons of bitches. And it irritates the shit out of me.
I ignore it. Yeah. But how many people don't? This is, again, it's clickbait.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It comes in through the email. They don't have to be 100% successful. I mean, the spam and social engineering through email, the percentage is nowhere near what it used to be. It's not even close. But yet, it's still profitable enough. They still do it. They didn't need one. I can send out millions of emails with a click of a button. I just need a couple of them to come back.
Well, I mean, think about the multiplier, dude. There's like, I think the last time I checked the statistic, which was, maybe in 2015, late 2014. So it's not really outdated, right? There's like 6 billion web users in the world. 6 billion.
With a B?
With a B. Right? So let's say you only have 20% of that.
20%?
Clicking on your links.
No, dude, 1/100%.
Right.
That's still we talked about this. I don't know if it was in one of the podcasts or we're talking about one of our doctorate students. 1% of the United States population is still a lot of people.
Yeah.
1/100% of online users is a lot of people. It's ginormous. We would never in a lifetime be able to count that amount of people by ourselves. We with a machine we could do it. With multiple people we could do it, but by ourselves we could never count them one at a time. It is an enormous amount of data.
Yeah. So
I just believe that the profits may go down, but they are still going to be overwhelmingly profitable. So matter of fact, perhaps we should probably just get into that business and create our own.
Well, I mean,
let's just get into selling people's data. Let's go anti-privacy and let's just, compromise people's privacy. Because evidently there's more money in compromising it than there is in trying to protect it. Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people that want to protect their data. It's unfortunate. I'm only somewhat joking, but I do remember when I was doing some work at Homeland Security, a buddy of mine who's still over there, we joked that we should get out of this whole tech thing and maybe start a hot dog stand because people are always going to buy hot dogs. They always want to eat them hot dogs.
Right. Well, and particularly when you look at the application of science, applied science. I mean, if you're looking now, in my opinion, to apply computer science, in particular machine learning and AI, if you have any background in big data, statistics, economics, psychology, sociology, that's like the perfect application of those skill sets if you especially want to make bank, is figuring out how to trick motherfuckers to click on your link. Because you only need 1/100th, whatever, right?
It's a small percentage in order to be successful.
And it's
think about that. So if we went with a sports analogy, they used to always say baseball players who are only successful 30% of the time are in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
This is a better stat than that. Dude, I only need to be successful 1/100th of a percent. So, 30% to 1/100% to be successful.
Right.
That completely changes the game.
Well, and maybe to go back to that earlier point we had made, not we, I did, because it was my point, about the privacy utopia where we just don't need it anymore. Maybe this is the first step to get it, is we just blow it up. And I don't mean like thermite, right? Or C4. What I mean
or do you?
No, the internet, I don't mean that. What I mean is, what if you were to create one of these types of companies? Well, and here's what made me think about this. Martin Shkreli went before Congress today, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but he pled the fifth, and then he fucking laughed at him.
I didn't see it, but it's great.
He straight up laughed at him. Well, when you I kind of sat back and I'm like, what if this dude's not trolling? What if he's a plant? And what if he's a plant to bait Congress into doing something absurd that impacts Big Pharma, who maybe is the real target? Because you're not going to pass laws that say just one guy can't raise the price of a drug. That's going to be a law that applies to everybody that's manufacturing, researching, and developing drugs.
I was looking to see where my tinfoil was, but I guess you've got it all.
I would have put tinfoil on and fuck this nice haircut. Look at that. Look at that fade, dude. She did such a good job. I was going to kiss myself.
Oh, righty then.
But what if we did, Matt? What if we set up some nice little company that generated all this clickbait, but we did it on such a scale that it forced the whole platform itself to crash and annihilate, just implode.
That comes down to the aspect of, I believe that we could crash a lot of the people, but the people who want to remain private will still be able to do so. I think we're already starting to remove those boundaries. I think for those that want to have privacy, they will get it. But it comes at a cost. Are you willing to pay for that cost? I don't know that many are. I think more people would not pay for that cost. They wouldn't pay for the price of privacy. It's unfortunate, I think.
I think it's a fair debate. I think as we produce more alternatives, right? There's technological alternatives to the big name brands that will allow you or afford you, I'm not going to say total, of course, but an increase in or a reduction in exposure. And I think as those alternatives become more attractive and more numerous, I'm a big fan of choice and having lots of selection. Maybe that's what does it.
Could be. We talked about that last week. Even though you were, using Windows 10, you wanted an alternative to Windows and Apple.
Well, I'm on Apple today, people.
But you certainly didn't switch out of, the top. I want something other than big brand, so I went to Apple.
No, what I said is I wanted something that worked.
Oh, Tomato.
Isn't it interesting how the older you get, you just want to fucking get shit done? I don't want to dick around with compiling.
Because your life it's got a finite end date. When you're younger, your time isn't as important because you've got more.
Describe our existence as being towards death.
Yeah. So.
Oh man.
On that note.
Yeah, dude, I'm getting hungry. We're gonna get some fucking food.
Yeah, I got to do one thing for the university here pretty quick, which is that it's funny that we're talking about social media when I have to tell someone that a 1990 U.S. Census survey had nothing to do with social media. I mean,
in 1990, I think you and I were like 14.
I was in high school, so yeah,
I graduated in 94.
I graduated in 93, so I would have been 15 then,
fuck.
right? Yeah, I got 1 year on me. Damn, I look good.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
This looks great.
No, you don't. All right, everybody.
All right, episode 5. What was his name? Mr.
Schnozzle.
Mr. Schnozzle.
I'm disappointed, man. This dude should have showed up, but he freaked out. He got a little phobia, which I can understand, but sometimes you just got to jump in the deep end. It's all right, man. If the sharks eat you, it'll be fast.
You gotta die sometime. Why not? Live for your eulogy.
Go out on your
That's right. All right, people. Remember that. Live for your eulogy, not your resume.